What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Brandon's Face. It's the podcast about a playlist. My name is Jonathan Beardsley.
And I'm Brandon May.
Few bits of music news to get into this week. Kendrick Lamar has been announced as the Super Bowl halftime performer. What's your reaction to that?
I think that it's going to be great. I think that Drake's going to get called a pedophile again in front of the entire country, which is always a fun time. I think I saw a meme that was, imagine getting 6 months notice that you're going to get called a pedophile in front of everybody.
Oh, man. Torture.
Yeah. I somebody was ranting, maybe it was Nicki Minaj was ranting on the Twitter about not giving Lil Wayne the shot because it's in New Orleans, but like I'm assuming that Jay-Z probably already knows that Lil Wayne wasn't going to show up even if he was booked. So
yeah, there's a lot of, rap media members and conspiracy theorists with all sorts of ideas about why Lil Wayne did not get the nod since it is in New Orleans and Kendrick did, and all this Drake versus Kendrick stuff. I don't think it really comes down to any of that, but I could be wrong. I think Kendrick is the biggest rapper right now coming off of a huge year, and I think that it makes a lot of sense. In terms of Not Like Us, though, I don't think it's a question that it will be performed in some iteration during this set list, but how much of that are they really going to let him do?
Not much. I really don't think so. And I honestly, bro, I bet you Jay-Z hit up Wayne and was like, hey, bro, you want to play the Super Bowl? He was like, yeah, how much it pays? And Jay was probably like, nothing. No, I'm good.
Got some news for you. You pay us actually to do this.
Exactly.
Yeah, you get paid in exposure, buddy. Back to those days. Have fun. One more bit of music news. The Stagecoach lineup is out. Is this early or am I mistaken? Does it always come out this far in advance?
Yeah, Stagecoach always comes out this far in advance. Coachella is the one that waits until January just to finalize contracts and all the booking agents. And Stagecoach is a lot more loosey-goosey, and so that's why you'll get people like Nelly, which is fun and exciting. Honestly,
let's talk about
the best Stagecoach lineup that I've seen in years.
I think we're at 25% kind of what I would call novelty acts for this festival, and I think that is for the better. The headliners are Eric Church, Miranda Lambert, Morgan Wallen. Nothing eye-rolling there or noteworthy, really. Second line, Jelly Roll, Post Malone, Hardy and the Beach Boys. Some interesting names there, but when you go down to the bottom of the flyer, which is where my eyes were immediately drawn, Late Night in Palomino, I think that's going to be a stage or a tent. Friday, Nickelback. Okay, that the Yuma will
turn
be
the Yuma tent into Palomino.
Nickelback will be performing Friday night, Diplo Saturday night, Wiz Khalifa Sunday night, and they will also have a Guy Fieri restaurant because of course they will. It is Stagecoach. Man, I don't know that I would ever pay what they ask for tickets, but yeah, I think that them leaning into kind of just the more fun side, ridiculous side of what they can with this festival is for the better. What's your take on it?
I think it's going to be so much fun. I might actually stream it this year. I normally do not stream Stagecoach, but Diplo was there last year, and I think the year before as well. I think last year it was called Diplo's Honky Tonk or something like that, which was amazing. I think he performed with Marshmello, which is so funny,
dude.
I think Stagecoach knocked it out of the park with this one, man. I'm very, very curious to hear what Wiz Khalifa sounds like and the reception to him at the Palomino.
A little interesting note on the flyer I noticed is Post Malone, it says doing country covers. I'm guessing he's going to have a wide list of guest appearances during his set. A lot of the people on his last album are going to be there. Are you kind of surprised that it's not just advertised that he's performing his new album and that he's doing classic country songs, just his version of them?
I'm kind of, because I'm not on social media, I think I'm cut off from the outside world in a fairly large way. And I have a feeling though that Post
I
Malone
think
has
it's the number one
resonated with a
album right
lot of
now.
country fans with his voice. And I think that he has, yeah, I think he has the opinion. I think he has the ability, rather, to perform country well. I mean, we talked about it on when we reviewed his last album, and I think that's going to go over really well. He's obviously going to play a few songs off of F1 Trillion. I would be surprised if he didn't, especially the one with Morgan
Yeah,
Wallen, which
yeah.
I'm
And I
hoping
think the
that
last
Morgan
thing
comes
of
out
country
for,
music news, which
and
I'm
we'll see what
surprised we
happens.
even have this much, is Beyonce was not Beyonce was not nominated for any of the country music awards. It is not known
First of its kind.
if she submitted for those at all. So I don't know. You can't nominate what's not submitted, I guess. And she is now confirmed not at Stagecoach, at least announced as of yet. So I think any fun tie-ins to this era of Cowboy Carter that we thought there was even a small chance of have now pretty much been put to rest, which is kind of a bummer. I was hoping for something out of left field with this one.
Yeah, I think I would be surprised if she submitted for it, like if there was an EDM only or like a house
Yeah,
music only music awards show, I doubt she would have submitted her Renaissance to that award show, because I think the entire point was to pay
sure.
homage to the artists that brought it to the mainstream or brought up the genre itself. And I'm assuming that Cowboy Carter had that same intention, whether or not I agreed with her execution or not on both of those records. I think that the
Yeah,
idea
I'll put.
would
I'll put.
be to not
All right.
take.
Right. Let's get into the singles this week. We got a bunch to talk about. Starting with this new one from Benny. It's her first new single of the year. I think first actually since like early last year with Green Honda. This one is called Sad Boy. Only took a year and a half, but we finally got a new song, and I think it was worth the wait. Although I hope we don't have to wait this long again. She's been talking about working on a new album. I don't think we're quite there yet. She's currently on tour with Wallows. I think she just wanted to put something new out for the fans. It's a good song. Hopefully we get some more new music soon. What are your thoughts on it?
Annie is just out here crushing it at any given moment. Man, this track is good.
Yeah, also my song of the week. I forgot to mention that.
Hey.
All right, moving on to this new one from Central C and Ray called Moi. Ray crushes her part, but I am already tired of the whole Central C shtick at this point. He's a good rapper, that much is very clear, but he has no diversity of topics, man. Every song has a bar about homophobia or cheating. His flow is always the same. His vocal tone is always the same. Sprinter with Dave last year was a smash, and that was partly because of him, but he's brought absolutely zero new ideas to the table since. He's only gotten more popular since then, so I must be in the minority when it comes to my criticisms of him, but what are your thoughts on it? Am I being a little too harsh?
Take a break from the whole gym thing. Uh, Look, man, after Ray dropped a 10-minute jazz track, it's wild to me that Central C or whoever the powers that may be on this track did not let her cook.
Yeah,
This track is decent. I think he's going to suffer the same fate as DaBaby, as having the exact same flow on every single track. And like you said, I mean, there's nothing new being brought to the table, and a lot of rap fans don't want something new, but like there should be some variation,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, something. I've even dug into his back catalog before Sprinter came out, and it's just more of the same, man. We'll see. We'll see. He's young. We'll give him some time.
Yeah.
New one from Megan the Stallion and RM from BTS. This one's called Never Play. Meg is having a massive year. Does not seem like that's going to be stopping anytime soon. She's fresh off the Hot Girl Summer Tour. She has a single from her recent album, Blowing Up. She landed a Pepsi deal for the new NFL season. Now she has a new song with the BTS member. Song itself is pretty good, man. It's a little different to hear RM rap in that much English and in kind of just a straight up, almost just modern contemporary American way, but I liked it. I thought they worked really well together. And if you haven't seen the animated video for this one, it's a lot of fun. What do you think of this one? You didn't like the last RM album we talked about.
I actually have not seen the music video, so I'll check that out. Bro, Meg just makes music that I love.
Yeah.
She has a great flow on everything, and she's just fun to listen to, man.
Yeah.
RM actually did a great job trying to keep up with her. Didn't, but tried,
Yes.
and that's all that matters.
Yeah, well said. All right, man. Talk to me about this Lil Wayne, Lil Yachty, Pharrell song "Can't Hold Me Down." I am so confused by it.
So this is one of those I see who did it and just instantly added to the playlist so that we can talk
Mm-hmm.
about it because it's a Pharrell Williams beat. Lil Wayne's on the track. Not a huge fan of Yachty as we've talked
Yeah.
about, but I don't mind some features. Yeah, man, this is not for me. Lil Wayne's verse is okay, but the beat is just not for me, bro. Usually Pharrell productions like really grab me. This one did not.
Yeah, what a weird song. Like I don't like the entirety of it at all. I think I like parts of it I like parts of it. Like if that makes sense.
Yeah, like
There's
moments within
yeah,
moments.
there's so much going on, but at the same time not enough. Like a rare miss from the run Wayne has been on. Yeah, not
Right.
for me. Not for you either, it appears.
Jay-Z heard it and was like, "This guy's
This is what made
Super
him
Bowl."
not choose Lil Wayne for the Super Bowl. this little Yachty collab. All right, we got a new one from ASAP Rocky and J. Cole. It's called Ruby Rosary. This is my favorite J. Cole verse in years. Third single we've gotten from Rocky recently. Sucks the album was delayed, but it's nice to have him at least active in the single world again. What do you think of this new one?
So ASAP over an Alchemist beat
Yep.
is not something I think we've ever heard.
I don't think so.
I honestly like it, man. I think he's branching out on something that he isn't used to, and I think that's very much a ASAP Rocky thing to do. Cole's verse is great. I love J. Cole's features. We've talked about this a lot. His albums over the last couple of years haven't really grabbed me, at least immediately, but his features have always been strong, and this is no exception.
Yeah, I agree. New one from Sungazer, Janice De La Victoria, and Jared. Yes, it's called Cool 7. Nobody is doing it like Sungazer right now, man. These guys just fucking get it. This song is great. What did you think about it?
Yeah, this song fucking rules, John.
Yeah, after these last two, I'm needing a new Sungazer project really soon for sure. And
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if we're heading that direction. New one from Jungle, Let's Go Back. I find it odd that Jungle is still listed as electronic on so many things when they've been making instrument heavy dance music for years now. This feels like they're doubling down, tripling down on the success of Back on 74 from a sonic perspective, and I don't think it'll be the last time they do it either. It blew them up even more than they already were, and people seem to eat up all the like choreograph heavy music videos that they've moved towards. I don't know how much I'm loving it. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on this one. What about you?
Sounds like an oldies, like some shit you would hear on the oldies station, but it also sounds very much like Jungle at the same time.
That's their thing right now, yeah.
I was a little confused by it at first, but that doesn't really mean anything because Jungle can throw shit at the wall to see what sticks, just like every other artist can. I was not big on their last album, as we talked about, so I'm curious to see if this takes any other directions.
Yeah, Volcano is weird. Loving in Stereo still clears, though. Good album.
For sure, absolutely.
New one from Dear Marianne, This Is Going Well. I don't think we've talked about this group on here before. What are your thoughts on it?
We have not. This is a Boston emo band, and the Boston hardcore scene has always been burgeoning outside the New York scene, and it's actually produced some of the most overlooked hardcore and emo bands, I think, of all time. Emo is still considered hardcore, right? We're still doing that?
I don't know.
This is great.
I wish I knew. I've been trying to answer that fucking question for like 20 plus years. Why did you ask me that? Anyways, keep going.
This is great, man. Poor girl named Marianne who had a band named after her, or maybe she wanted it. I don't know. Maybe Marianne doesn't exist. Dear Marianne, the band. Can you guys confirm or deny Marianne's actual existence?
Yeah, naming your band after somebody, that's pretty intense. That's a lot more than like Emily from First to Last type of treatment. That's dedication.
Right.
All right. Yeah, I liked this one. It's different. It's not bad. It's hard not to like a song with a sporadic fuck into a little punk breakdown at the end. Thumbs up from me for sure. Let's move to the hot topic of the week. It is the new Linkin Park song, The Emptiness Machine. Give me your thoughts on it, man. I've been dying to know if you're digging this one.
All right. So we should probably address the gigantic elephant that's in apparently everyone's room. But I'm going to talk about the music first.
Sure.
So I actually like the way Emily sounds on this song. I think I may be in the minority when I say that I liked the way she sounded on the live stream as well. I was already following Dead Sarah on Spotify when I found out that she was going to be in Linkin Park, but I don't think I've ever listened to the band outside of the one feature that they had on the Demi Lovato album a couple years ago. Other than that, I think this song is softer than I like for a Linkin Park song. I like it when they get heavier, and they haven't for a while, and I think that her voice is suited for it. But and I'll still be listening to the album, but if this is the best song on it, if this is the lead single, I'll probably feel the same way that I did about their last couple of albums, which is Hybrid Theory's better.
Fucking duh. That's better than most albums by anybody. Man, I don't know. Like, I don't think it sounds bad, but I don't like it. It just sounds like she's doing a Chester impersonation on this song. And I'm not saying she's not capable of doing more than that. Like you, I have no fucking idea. I've barely heard this girl, so I'm not going to judge her musically on that. Maybe I'll like the next song they put out more. And no, I'm not factoring her potentially problematic past into my feelings on this song. It's just my gut feeling on it as of now. But I think the elephant in the room you're talking about is her being a character witness for Danny Masterson at his rape trial, which immediately got brought to the forefront of the internet as soon as her announcement in this band happened, because that is how fast the internet moves. She quickly put out a statement saying she went day one, realized she was in the wrong, yada, yada, yada. That's a very serious topic. I really don't think that it's as big of a deal in the music as people are making it. But man, you can only act in these cases with your wallet and your time. So if you don't want to support her, man, or this, then don't. But I will say, given the things Chester was very vocal about, the causes he was kind of passionate about, it is weird to have somebody with any background related to that replace him. But I'm not that close or invested in this situation. Do you have any thoughts you want to get out on this? That's kind of mine.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. Number one,
Please.
Emily, where is Shelley Miscavige?
Yes, where's
right?
Shelley?
I mean,
Please, where's Shelley?
Right. Aside from that, I think that a lot of people are placing their bias and putting it towards the music, because I like the way she sounds. I'm not huge on the song, but I like the way she sounds on it, and I think that I mean, again, I haven't listened to Dead Sarah. Maybe it's better than her in Linkin Park. People are also on the internet calling Linkin Park Chester's band. In fact, Chester was the latest addition to the band. It was always kind of Mike's band, and so I think that having historical context is important, especially when we're talking about serious things. I think that there's a lot of feelings that I have. Obviously, anybody supporting any sort of sexual assault or rape is awful, right? I think that her apology wasn't an apology. I think that she put out a statement.
Yeah, she did not apologize at all.
And I also think that it's like you and I texted. We did the rare text between episodes about things relating to the episode, and then, I kind of get it. Like I said, I consider people who are in Scientology victims until they prove themselves otherwise. I like it, especially if you're born into something and you've been brainwashed literally your entire life. You're most definitely a victim, and so I know that putting out an apology and calling him out by name would have most definitely triggered the church. And after following Leah Remini's story about how she was stalked and almost killed, and how Cedric from the Mars Volta literally had his dogs killed because he spoke out against the church, I can understand someone not wanting to, at the very least, jump the gun and literally maybe even end her life because of it. You know what I mean? all of that aside, I'm gonna listen to the album. I don't think
Yeah.
that my 2 or 3 cents that they'll make on my streams, if that they probably won't actually. If I listen to it like 3 or 4 times, it probably wouldn't even make like 3 cents.
Yeah, they're making anything on this,
which
man.
is fine. Which is fine,
Yeah.
right? I'm definitely not going to go to a tour. We'll see how the situation develops, if it even develops anymore, man. I think the reality is that a lot of people are chronically online, and a lot of Linkin Park fans are too old to be chronically online. And I think that a lot of people just don't care. So I think they'll sell out the tour if they haven't already. I think they'll perform well. And if she is anything like Chester, she'll blow her vocal cords out and nobody will have anything to complain about.
Well said. I agree that historical context is important. It's Chester's band, though. Come on, man. Once Chester's voice was over that music, it was Chester's band.
Oh, dude has probably one of the better voices in rock and metal ever.
Well, that's
like there's no denying
that's
that.
been the
sure.
best
And
part of this for me is since the announcement, my algorithm on Twitter has just become old videos of Chester performing live, and you're like, holy shit, man, this guy was insane. Like, he was perfect. Note perfect most of the time.
I actually watched an entire concert of theirs. I think it was, man, I'll have to find it. 2013, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
He sounds, when he's screaming into the microphone and he's got this like emotion to him, he sounds a lot like Chad from Mudvayne, but it works so well live. And it sounds a little different in the studio, which is, fine. Audio engineers have a job.
Yeah.
But I think live, the dude just, the dude was just a crazy vocalist, man. I think everybody who was ever a fan of Linkin Park will know that obviously the band without Chester is not the same. And I didn't mean to imply that anything different from what I said, but I do know that bands also have replaced lead singers in the past, right? AC/DC replaced a lead singer, fucking Genesis replaced a lead singer, and we all know Phil Collins because of that. So you know what I mean?
The AC/DC thing is a 1 in a billion fucking chance that you're gonna find somebody that sounds identical to that person, though. That's the exception, though, not the rule. But I do agree with what you're saying.
If nobody had announced that change, nobody would have known for real. I mean, Alice in Chains, right? There's been 100,000.
That dude who's been filling in for Journey the past like 10 plus years crushes it. Sounds just like Steve Perry.
Queen,
yeah,
right?
Lambert is no Freddie Mercury. Do not get that twisted. But yeah, Queen still too.
I had to make the joke though, right?
God damn it!
Oh man, I was holding that one in all week.
Thank you.
I'm curious what the next iteration of Linkin Park feels like, because I think as a 32-year-old, almost 33-year-old, we all kind of, in my age range, in our age range, really we grew up with the emotionality of how their music felt to us and how much it meant to us. And judging by this song, I don't think that we're going to get anything close to anything like remotely resembling the same amount of emotion. From a strictly musical standpoint, that's I'm just not feeling it. But I did like her voice, so I may pirate some of her old music so I can listen to it and not enrage the public. You know what I mean?
You're always gonna find a way to enrage the public, Brandon. I believe in you. It's exciting to have them active again. I think you said you were texting about this with your family. Like, how often does a musician coming back or being announced as a vocalist spark conversation within family group texts and shit? Like, it's fun to have big news like this to talk about, no matter how you feel about it. So I'm happy we have Linkin Park again.
Yes.
All right, new one from Opeth. I'm gonna say S3 is the name of the song because I don't know how to pronounce that weird symbol. I hate to say it, but I'm already missing the growls on this one.
I know
the music is great though. Very Between the Buried and Me adjacent. Is that on? Is that off? Am I right? Am I wrong?
No, you're totally spot on. I obviously like this one less than the last
Same.
music they put out, but you know what, man? If I know anything about Opeth, it'll make a little bit more sense on the album. Even like Ghost Reveries, which is one of the albums that will forever hold a very special place in my heart, had really soft moments, and this might be elongated from the days of 2007 or whatever, but this, or 2004, somebody correct me, this hopefully will take a place in between some growling, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. I just better get some more. I better. All right, new one.
You heard him, Michael.
New one from Spirit Box, Soft Spine. This one fucking rips, man. They do not mess around. When I saw they'd released a new song, I was kind of like, I hope it's a heavier Spirit Box song. Wish granted. I love this. What about you?
Exactly my thoughts, man. Undeniably hard, and I'm so glad that they leaned into the heavier side, because their last EP was pretty soft, if I
Mm-hmm.
remember correctly. And bro, this was really good. They're entering their gent era, which is a thing, I
Who
guess.
doesn't love that? Talk to me about the new Spore track, Sabretooth.
What is there to say besides the master has come to bless us with this fucking insane track, man? Dear God.
Yeah, the Mr. Gooch with a monster tune on this one. Jesus Christ, dude. Huge. One of his best to come out this year, and that's saying something because he's been very active.
I know, man. I really hope that we get like an entire project of like this sound. Sign me the fuck up.
Same, dude. All right, we got one more single this week. It's from Clooney and Andress. Pegao is the name of it. It's Clooney plus Latin vocals, so you already know I'm digging it, man. What about you?
It's not just the vocals that have that Latin twist
the
to it, man.
drums too, yeah.
The drums and the bass line,
Yeah.
and I mean, bro, I can't move my hips. My hips don't move. My hips were moving in this one, man. This is done at such a high level. Like, I think this might be my favorite Clooney track at this point.
Man, Sip and Yak is going to be a hard bar to beat for me personally, but this one is maybe the second best this year for me. It's a banger for sure.
It's a really good one.
All right, a few EPs to talk about this week. We got this one from Ignaz, SMV010. It's a great EP. Love the little claps on Lightworker as expected. What are your thoughts on this one?
Would.
Of course.
Hey, I actually threw this one on the playlist as our obligatory techno release because I actually think it represents what the next popular iteration of techno will be as a genre.
What's that?
We'll probably start to see like a lot of the veterans, and we kind of already are, start to play this like tribal and percussion heavy version of techno. Maybe it's just me and my obsession with drums and percussion and the techno scene, but I've been seeing a lot of labels and popular artists doing more of this style rather than like this is like a lower BPM slightly. Obviously it's still 130 plus, but it's not this hard groove 135, 140, 145 that we've been seeing a lot. It's got these tribal drum beats all over it. Like you said, the claps are pretty, they're actually pretty abnormal for techno. But I mean, dude, I'm a big fan of this entire EP, as is tradition for Ignaz, but I wanted to throw it on as I think we're going to see a lot more of this coming into next year in the techno scene.
I agree. I think we will too. It's a fun sound. I'm sure, as with every new iteration of techno purists will hate it, but I like it.
The first few releases that get popular, the techno purists are going to love it, and then everything that gets popular after it, they're going to be like, "Oh, this has always sucked." So we'll see what happens, man.
Oh, that's just nature right there. All right. We got the deluxe edition, or part 2 of One More Time by Blink-182. Sadly, man, none of these songs really did anything for me personally. I think All in My Head, which they released a few weeks back as a single, is still my favorite of the bunch. But what about you? Did you enjoy any of these enough to really like think about them beyond just once or twice?
These are all fine, John. I can see why they weren't included on the original album. They're fine. It's Blink, so they're good, but like objectively or whatever. But they're not amazing. They're not my
There's no
favorite break tracks, but
there's really no like upbeat or ridiculous throwaways from the album. You would think like some studio takes in there would have some of that old Blink. Just let Tom talk into the mic like he does at the live shows and throw some of that shit in there. I think that's what it's missing. But hey, the first song they released as part of this was called No Fun. So maybe that's what we were supposed to expect.
Yeah, they just weren't having any fun. You know, it reminds me, what you just said reminded me of a video that popped up at one of their live shows on the tour this year. And they invited a fan on stage to sing, I think, What's My Age Again? Or First Date, and she started singing All the Small Things.
Oh my God.
And Tom was just like, come here, we got this.
Oh my God. Shout out that person.
Just shout out that person. Are you okay? You good?
Oh man. Okay, we got a few albums to talk about this week. 9 if I am to be exact. Let's just dive right in with this one from Fred again called 10 Days. There's things I liked about this album. I think Places to Be is still a jam. Peace You Need feels like it has the potential to be a massive live tune. Sampa's voice is always beautiful. Glow with Skrillex and Fortet is a lot different than the other collabs that they put out together so far, but still great. Overall, though, man, I'm not a big fan of this release, and that's not a huge surprise of any of his releases outside of the USB stuff. Actual Life 3 grew on me a lot since reviewing it, to the point of being my favorite project of his so far, I think, at least in its entirety. The concept for this project is simple enough. It's 10 songs about 10 specific days he had over the past year or so. Every song is preceded by an interlude. They help flesh out the idea behind the project, but I found myself skipping them every time after the first listen. And beyond the songs I mentioned earlier, there wasn't much else on here that I cared for, man. We've talked about the specificity of our Fredigan fandom. We like certain sides of his sound, and this project, for the most part, just was not that. I think I'm feeling a light 6 on it. My standout is Places to Be. What did you end up thinking of this one?
I actually liked it a little more than you. Not much more, but you know what I find really funny, John? People who are just now finding out that this is the type of music that Fred again produces. Mm-hmm. The stuff in his USB Living album and the stuff he did with Fortet and Skrillex are really just flashes in the pan. I actually think that this album is actually a pretty decent bridge between his Actual Life series and those other forms of house he makes. But you can tell when like going on the internet to like just like see what people are saying about this album that I'm seeing a lot of comments like, wow, this is boring or quote lame, because these people aren't house music fans. Fred again got pretty popular and he decided, and he's been putting this music out forever, and his live shows are nothing like this. You know what I mean? So I think it's funny. I think this album's great, man. There's lots of great bass lines. Of course, there's a lot of choppy, raw recorded voices. The little 10-second interludes between each track kind of lull me and then snap me right back once that 4/4, or in the case of the Places to Be, the drum and bass starts up again. I think the Sampa feature on Fear Is Less is fantastic. I think his work with Fortet and Skrill on Glow is great, and they obviously collab very well together, regardless of the type of music they decide to make or whatever comes out of those. I would love to be in the room because those collaborations must be crazy. I don't know if you've heard Fortet talk about his production style, but that dude doesn't even use headphones. Nope. So I would love to be in the room there. But yeah, as a closer, I think that Backseat is pretty beautiful, but it's kind of like it's very low energy compared to the rest of it, even though it does that building thing. I haven't had much praise about him for a while, so it was cool to hear a project that actually did a little bit for me. I'm gonna call it right now, though. He is taking the Disclosure route. The next record will be more pop music, and it'll be very popular, and then he'll go right back to the houseier stuff. It's somewhere between a 6 and a 7. So I liked it a little more than you, I think. Places to Be, he should do more D&B.
I agree, man. Yeah, we're not far off in score. I agree with that, though. I think we will see soon enough where he goes next. If it's a pop album next, I will probably like it, and you probably won't. So we'll have to see.
Yep. Yep.
All right, man. We got a new one from Rex Orange County called The Alexander Technique. This is another album like the Fred Again one, where my enjoyment of it came down to what type of song it was. His last album, Who Cares, was fun and light and really hit on everything I enjoy about his music up until that point. He's always had a side of his sound that I didn't care for as much, but his most recent project was my favorite of his to date. So I was pretty optimistic going into this one. And I don't think I had a bad time with it, but I definitely did not enjoy it as much as his previous one either. His songwriting ability is still very, very high, top-notch stuff. His storytelling ability, more importantly, has that ability to kind of get you to lean in closer as he's talking about certain things. But most of this album is just on the lighter side, very slow, very acoustic forward. It's not all that, though. He does tap into some of that, like, Who Cares energy on 2008, and definitely made my ears perk up a little bit when I heard the drum machine sounds come in on Carrera and Much Too Much. But like I said, overall, just a little too slow for my taste in music. It's another light 6 for me. My standout is 2008. How did you feel about this one?
John, this is not good. I wish it was, man. I really liked Who Cares. I actually listen to it still pretty regularly. I have the record, and it's a really good thing to just kind of put on when you want something poppy and fun. You know what I mean? This seems like some. I will agree with you that his storytelling and his writing is objectively like good. I don't think that he had much fun or good source material to work off of. Rex Orange County has been through a lot since 2022, and arguably it has to have been pretty rough on him. Basically everything in his life, you know. So that being said, I think there's just a lot of sadness here, and it's that slow acoustic stuff that I think may work like a couple of times on any given album, right? I'm not afraid of slow songs. Yeah. It's just when it is the majority of it, it turns into something that is not for me. I don't think that it's very cohesive. Like you said, we get some upbeat stuff on 2008, but that's my standout of the album. Same. But that's the Rex Orange County that I know and love and want. And it just, like, there's some catchy melodies with the slower acoustic stuff, but because of how much his voice carries his songs, the lyricism, I think, takes a front row. And because of the terrible source material he had for writing, I don't think it's for me. I'm going to give it somewhere between a 3 and a 4. 2008 is my standout.
Hey, man. I don't wholly disagree with that score, and I think that says a whole lot about it. I'm probably giving him a little friendly nudge there, but yeah, man, it's pretty disappointing, especially on the heels of Who Cares, which, like you said, is just a fantastic record. Is what it is, though, man. Can't win them all. All right, are you ready to talk about this Toro y Moi album, Whole Erth?
Yeah.
That touches on everything from rap to pop punk, but despite that vast combination of genres, it borders on unconventional more than avant-garde, and there's nothing about it that feels distinct or unique. At least this album. That's been my experience with it so far. Like, there's times it feels like I'm listening to Sway Lee, like on the opener, Walking in the Rain. There's times it feels like I'm listening to Dominic Fike. There's times I'm literally listening to Ben Gibbard. Then 5 minutes later, I'm listening to Don Toliver. That's a lot of range for an album like this, and I don't think he sticks the landing. Yeah, man, I really wanted to like it. I do like things about it, but this one, somewhere between a 5 and a 6 for me. I don't know. My standout depends on my mood. I'll say Walking in the Rain, though. What about you, man? Did you end up enjoying this one more than I did?
So, no, but I will say that this album is a change of pace for Toro y Moi, and I remember listening to him in the early to like mid 2010s and really loving the kind of like psychedelic R&B twinged indie rock that he put out and performed with a band. That's the Toro y Moi I know, and this is not that. I can see like some psychedelic aspects of it. I hear a lot of like Travis Scott inspired trap sounds on
Yeah.
this, and unfortunately that has literally never done anything for me. I do not like this sound in general, and I most definitely didn't like it coming from this guy. I saw this described on Spotify on his Spotify channel as having elements of Y2K emo. I don't really hear much of that on this album. I mean, there's
No.
a little bit, but it's not.
I don't.
That's it. Just like I could never find anything emo about all the other emo rappers out there, this ain't it, man. There are moments that are catchy, undeniably, right? The instrumentals and sounds on Madonna are great, but the ad libs and overly auto tuned vocals just ruin it for me, like they do pretty much every song. And look, man, Heaven is a genuinely good song, though. I like Heaven, but that's because it's not the rest of the rest of the album. Kevin Abstract as well on this one too. CDR is catchy, has like some fun nostalgic moments, right? But it's overshadowed by how out of character I found it for Toro y Moi. Like I said, I was actually really excited. I don't think we covered any of these singles.
We didn't, no.
Which is probably why I was so caught off guard when it was trap music, and I was like, "Wait, are there two people?" Like, is this the right guy? That can't be right. I thought that would pass on subsequent listens, though, right? How out of character everything was. It didn't. I'll stick to his run of albums from Causers of This to Boo Boo. My standout is Heaven. It's a 3 for me. I liked, 30% of it, maybe.
More than fair, honestly. Yeah, I think both you and I wanted to like it more than we actually did, and that is just a sad reality with this one, but we'll see.
Nothing really ruins your day more than being like, yeah, some psychedelic indie. Oh wait, it's Travis Scott inspired trap.
Oh man, yeah, that's the worst. All right, actually this next thing might be the worst. So I threw on this new Paris Hilton album, Infinite Icon. I had no intention of adding this when it got announced. I didn't hate I'm Free with Rina Sawayama when it dropped as a single. I know you didn't enjoy it. I was just going through the new releases on Thursday night. I saw Meg had a feature on the album. I gave it a listen. And when Paris said, step one, when you're getting ready, look hot, I absolutely fucking lost it. I don't think we're going to fit in at the Bad Bitch Academy if this is what they're listening to, Brandon. Even a Meg feature could not save this abomination of a song or an album. The production, while at a glance might sound okay, is so derivative, so bland. The features do nothing to enhance it. They are a welcome reprieve from the moments that she tries to provide vocals herself. It's terrible, obviously, but I don't want to be all negative, even if there's nothing I really enjoyed about this album. So I'll say it takes guts to put music out there for people to hear and criticize. So I will give her credit for that, but that is all. This is in that 1 to 2 range, man. I'm Free as my standout. I'm shocked I have a clear-cut standout, but I do. What are your thoughts on this one, if any? I kind of added it as
Yeah, for sure. I knew that. Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that Paris Hilton doesn't seem like her numbers are artificially inflated on Spotify. 2 million monthly listeners, that's honestly not terribly hard to do, especially with name recognition like Paris Hilton has. I cannot deal with the fact that she's releasing music still. I can't be mad at it. The girl could have just sat back and inherited an empire and instead chose to do her own thing. Obviously, she had a larger step up than quite literally anyone else, but at least she's seeming like she's enjoying being an entertainer,
Yeah.
All of that being said, I really think this album is so boring and so it's surface level, strained through cheesecloth to be as inoffensive as possible while also being as relatable to the kids as possible. Everything here is, it's catchy, but is it really even? But that's about it. That's really the only good thing I have to say about it. I'm honestly surprised she's working so much with Sia, which is odd to see two Sia tracks on here.
Yeah,
it's a 2. Standout is ADHD because of how fucking hilarious it is.
Sure. Yeah, we'll leave it at that, man. Weird album. We did it. We made it through it.
We did it.
All right, wash the taste of that one out of your mouth by telling me about this new NERO one, Into the Unknown, that is finally released, man.
We've been talking about this album for like a year
Maybe
or
two. I
something.
think two, honestly.
Damn, man. I also feel like I've been waiting like 9 years for it. Oh, wait, that's because I have been. This is almost everything that I wanted it to be. I am super glad that we're hearing some drum and bass. Not surprised as it's become insanely popular both across the pond and in the States a little bit. I think they excel when they do some drum and bass. I also love that they didn't just stick to one sound here. We have a variety of sounds and genres here, and I think they did pretty well with all of them. Take Nowhere to Hide, for example. They've really branched out into something like really pretty, and then right back into the hard shit with Draw Energy. It's hard as fuck. Solar shows how amazing they are at the dubby stuff. But the real takeaway here, and my song of the week, John, the track that blew me the fuck away the first time I heard it. I almost blew my car speakers out. I turned it up so high. All of my neighbors know that Talking to God is a motherfucking banger.
Yeah.
I really liked this album. I loved that song. The first time you hear it, you're like, whoa, man, that's fucking wild.
Yeah.
I'm glad they released something. I'll be listening to this one for a while. I'm assuming they'll be at Coachella, which is why they haven't announced a tour. That's just me. That's just me assuming. If I were a betting man, I would put $100
Note
on
it.
that. And I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah.
I really liked it. Talking to God is obviously the most crazy song I've heard from NERO in 9 years. So there you go. What are your thoughts?
Dude, I agree with everything you said, man. It's been a long wait for this one, but I think it lived up to the hype depending on what your expectations for it were. It was never going to be the instant classic that Welcome Reality was, but it is still a very, very good album. The singles we got during the rollout were indicative of the overall sound of the album, but there was still plenty of surprises. Despite this style of EDM being maybe a little dated, this album felt fresh, or at least fresh as it relates to this genre. Going back to the singles, though, I think I'm still a fan of the original version of Renegade with RL Grime a little more than the album version, but I like that they thought about the cohesion of the album to the point of making a different version to better fit what they were going for here. Blame You.
Very artistic choice.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Blame You is another single that just fits perfectly onto the album. The new songs that we got are all pretty fucking great, too. You already talked about Talking to God, which is just great. Nowhere to Hide is probably my favorite of the bunch of new songs we got. Even the later singles that they dropped that we didn't really talk about were good, man. Too Many Questions is one of my favorites on the album. This one's up there with that Last Justice album. It's just well produced, pretty much everything I wanted from this group at this time. Strong 8 for me. Standout is a toss-up between Nowhere to Hide and Talking to God. Both are bangers.
Correct.
All right, man. Tell me about this Atlas Genius album you threw on here.
So I was pretty stoked for this one, man. Atlas Genius hasn't released an album since their 2015 effort, Inanimate Objects. I've been a fan of theirs since I first heard them. Early 2000s indie rock with a healthy dose of pop sensibility. It's what they did best, and it's what they're doing now. There's no variations. Atlas Genius isn't reinventing the indie wheel here. At least I didn't expect them to reinvent the indie sound. It's inoffensive, bro. It's catchy. It is well written. We've got some good lyrics. We've got some great instrumentals. We've got to me, this album is exactly what I wanted out of an Atlas Genius album, which is not much. I didn't really want much out of it. I just wanted some indie pop songs. You know what I mean? And so that's it, man. This is fun. I don't think that it's gonna do anything on the charts. I don't think it's going to move the needle for people who aren't fans of theirs, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it somewhere between a 6 and a 7 for me. My standout is I really liked Elegant Strangers.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I thought this one was pretty good. You know, I'm not a huge fan of this style of indie pop, but everything on it's objectively decent. It sounds good. There's a little bit of diversity in the production and writing styles. The lyrics can be a little basic or cringe, but overall, I think it's pretty damn good for what it is, man. That's it for me. I also have it between a 6 and a 7. My standout is either Falling So Hard or Elegant Strangers, but I'm leaning Elegant Strangers now that you said it.
There you go. It's a good song.
All right, let's talk about this new Boston Manor album, Sundiver. Got a slightly different vibe than Datura had, and at first I didn't know if I was enjoying it as much, but it grew on me pretty quick. And after going back to that last album, I think I like this one even more. Obviously, I like the heavier moments on here, like Sliding Doors the most, but they do the modern alt sound really well too on songs like Container and Fornix. They also do a great job blending both sides of that sound together on a song like Why I Sleep. There's moments on here I didn't love as much. Not a huge fan of the Heat Me Up lyrics, but even that's not a skip for me. Feeling a solid 7 on this one. Sliding Doors is my standout. How are you feeling about it?
You know, man, I actually just looked and they have close to just under like 600,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. That is pretty decent for an alt rock band in 2024. And I'm honestly still thinking that they might even still be a little underrated. They have this fantastic blend, like you said, of heavier moments, which I wish they leaned into more. Obviously, I'm a big fan of heavy music in general, but like you said, I think they did a really good job of blending everything together as a project, and even on specific
Mm-hmm.
songs. We get some good lyrics. We get some cringy lyrics. We're no strangers to that, especially in this style of alt rock. But I think Boston Manor has the potential to be a lot bigger than they are.
Yeah.
And I think that they should, because they have a fantastic sound. The vocalist, I don't know his name, but shout out to him. He's got great range and he shows it off. We've got a lot of like alt rock, but we've also got a lot of elements of like post-hardcore on this one, with like a couple of two-step moments. There's a
Yeah.
couple of breakdowns. They're not traditional hardcore or even post-hardcore breakdowns, but you can tell what they were going for. And I actually really enjoyed this album, man. I'm gonna give it somewhere. It's a solid 7. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna say somewhere between a 7, but it's a solid 7. I think the standout for me is, I don't know. I'm still thinking about that one.
I think you're right though. Like a band like You Me at Six has like 1,500,000, and I would say Boston Manor is very much on the same level, talent and sound wise, as them. So it's only a matter of time before either that same amount of people discover Boston Manor or not. Music sometimes isn't fair, and very talented bands go a long time without being discovered. But I do think Boston Manor's making quality music at such a good clip right now that they're going to keep growing and finding new fans. And I agree, man. Slightly underrated as of now, which is a shame, but that only makes these albums a little more special.
Yeah, let's call it Fornix as my standout.
Hey, good song. Love that one. Jesus Christ. Let's talk about PeelingFlesh's album, The G Code. This album is fucking incredible, man. I hit play on it, knew nothing about it or them. I was blown away within 3 songs. That intro is a throwback to like the sample heavy slam style that was big online in the mid 2000s. Sample itself is stupid, which is always the case with tracks like that, but the music they bring in behind it is so fucking good, dude. They bring all the fun and stupidity of new metal to modern slam and grind, and it's just great, man. The post rock rap verses hit way harder than they have any right to. The scratching on Pert 3000 is just great. The type of like growl heavy vocal style that they do usually wears on me over time, but I loved it on here, man. Even that snare that sounds absolutely ridiculous is working for me on this one, man. Strong 8, bordering on a 9 if I've got a couple beers in me. My standout is Shoot to Kill, man. I loved this album. What did you think of it?
This album is such a fucking party,
Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
Like every time it comes on, especially when I'm in the car, I'm headbanging. It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
They wanted it to sound, from my understanding, and this could be false, but from my understanding, they wanted it to sound like a rap mixtape, but not that.
Yeah.
Like you said, they incorporate elements of like new metal with the scratching and like rapping, and like even some of the riffs are like really early Slipknot, which is hilarious, man. there's a reason why they're probably the most popular slam band, or one of, because they take literally nothing seriously, and that goes so far when you listen to the music that it just shows that they're genuinely having fun, because this genre of music is not serious. We're not mutilating people. We are partying right now, and this is the music we're choosing to party with.
Yep.
Like you, this is an easy 8 for me. It'll probably grow as I listen to it more. The whole thing's a standout. I think the whole thing is a fantastic piece of cohesive art that it's going to go over a lot of people's heads without the proper context of all of the things that they're doing. And I think that that's beautiful, because they knew that.
Yep. And we are not the only people that apparently like to party to this music, because I saw a post from them yesterday. They played Mesa, Arizona, 1,000-person cap, sold out, no barriers, just violence and heat is what they wrote. That sounds incredible, man. I'm glad. That's insane that they're already selling out 1,000-cap venues. I don't know if that's like from the area they're from or what, but good Lord, man. Good for them. Good for them. They deserve it.
They played a no barriers sweaty show. Is that what I was smelling?
Yes. The whole time. The whole time you were listening to this.
Remember, people, if you go to a PeelingFlesh show, please do not wear deodorant. It adds to the ambiance.
All right, one more album to talk about before we get out of here. It's from Gavin Turek, called Diva of the People. I found this girl after she dropped a song called The Distance back in like 2017. Hit follow. Never listened to her music again until I saw this album pop up on my release radar. I gave it a preview, really liked what I heard, so I threw it on. It's some high-quality disco pop, extremely danceable, funky bass lines, soaring angelic vocals. Interludes weren't really my favorite thing, but the way they're sequenced on here makes them feel necessary to the structure of the album. I love when the instrumentals get time to breathe and evolve like they do on IOU and What's a Girl to Do. Whole thing is really, really well done. It's a solid 7 for me. My standout is Disco Boots. What did you think about this one, man? Did you get a chance to listen to it at all this week?
Oh yeah, I listened to it actually quite a bit. It's a really fun morning album.
It is morning disco.
And yeah, speaking of fun and partying, I mean, this, like you said, man, the bass line, we've got fantastic vocals. I had no idea what to expect. I expected a male with a name like Gavin, but I did not get that, and that's great, because it was like a surprise. It actually, you know what it reminds me of, John? It reminds me of early Calvin Harris, like the I Created Disco Calvin Harris, that is missing in dance music right now. Everybody takes themselves so fucking seriously in dance music, and we need more fun. You know what I mean? And I think that this is so much fun. The bass lines did it for me, but those little disco stabs every once in a while are great. It's just honestly just so much fun to listen to. Disco Boots is obviously the best song on the album. It's a 7 for me as well. I like this one.
Dude, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I figured you would, but I'm glad that that's the case. It is very, very fun. Yeah, man, I had no idea what to expect from it as an album. I remembered it was like vaguely pop dance adjacent, and it kind of just knocked it out of the park. It was a really good one to come on every time.
Right. And honestly, it was a fun like follow up every time PeelingFlesh ended.
Yeah, oddly enough, it was. It was kind of like the perfect wind down from that and the week.
It worked.
All right, man. We got another kind of big release week. We got a new albums coming out from Floating Points, Ginger Root, Hayden James, London Grammar, Tiffany Day, Trenta Mahler, and more. Make sure you're following along with the weekly rotating playlist. You can find the link to that in the show notes. That way you'll know what we'll be covering on every new episode. You can also find us on Instagram and Reddit to keep up with all things Brandon's Face. Just search Brandon's Face Pod. Give us a follow. We will see y'all next time. Peace.